Have you ever built a magnificent sandcastle at the beach, only to watch the waves creep closer and closer until they wash it away? That very same process, happening on a much, much larger scale over years and decades, is what we call coastal erosion. It's the relentless wearing away of our coastlines by the power of the ocean. This isn't just about losing a bit of sand. It's about our world changing right before our eyes. The land where people live, where animals make their homes, and where entire communities have been built for centuries is slowly but surely being reclaimed by the sea. It's a natural phenomenon, but human activities are making it happen faster than ever before. Understanding this process is incredibly important because our coasts are more than just pretty places to visit. They are vital ecosystems, economic hubs, and the first line of defense against the power of the ocean. Think about it. Coastlines are some of the most dynamic and exciting places on Earth. They are the battleground where land and sea meet, a constantly shifting frontier shaped by wind, water, and time. For as long as there have been oceans and continents, there has been coastal erosion. It's a fundamental part of how our planet works, sculpting the dramatic cliffs, sandy beaches, and sheltered bays we love. However, the pace of this change is accelerating, and that's a real cause for concern. When beaches shrink and cliffs crumble, it's not just a geological event. It's a direct threat to our homes, our infrastructure, and our safety. The issue of coastal erosion is a perfect example of how interconnected everything is on our planet. What happens in the atmosphere can affect the sea, which in turn reshapes the land where we live. The importance of this topic extends far beyond the scientific community. It affects everyone, from a family living in a coastal home to a fisherman whose livelihood depends on a healthy marine environment, to a tourist just hoping to enjoy a day at the beach. As global sea levels continue to rise and storms become more intense, the pressure on our coastlines is mounting. We are facing a future where many of the coastal areas we know and love could look drastically different, or might not even exist at all. By studying coastal erosion, we are not just learning about geography. We are learning how to adapt and protect ourselves in a changing world. It's a science that is critical for our survival and the preservation of our natural heritage. So, let's dive in and explore this fascinating and urgent subject. We will look at what coastal erosion is, what causes it, both naturally and through our own actions, and the profound effects it has on people and nature all over the globe. We'll journey from the sandy shores of Sri Lanka to the engineered coastlines of the Netherlands to see how different communities are tackling this challenge. Most importantly, we'll examine the clever solutions and innovative strategies that scientists and engineers are developing to protect these precious environments. Understanding coastal erosion is the first step toward finding sustainable ways to live in harmony with the powerful and ever-moving ocean. Consider this your invitation to become a coastal champion. So, what exactly is coastal erosion? In the simplest terms, it's the process where land along the coastline is worn away and transported elsewhere by the sea. Imagine the ocean as a giant liquid sandpaper machine. Every wave that crashes onto the shore carries energy, and that energy does work. It picks up tiny grains of sand, pebbles, and even larger bits of rock and carries them away. This movement of sediment is the heart of the erosion process. It's a natural cycle of removal, erosion, and deposition, where the sediment is dropped off somewhere else. A healthy coastline is in a state of dynamic equilibrium, where the amount of sand being removed is roughly balanced by the amount of sand being brought in by currents or rivers. But when that balance is tipped and more material is taken away than is deposited, the coastline begins to retreat. This process changes our shorelines in very noticeable ways. A wide, sandy beach that was once perfect for a summer holiday might become narrow and steep, with waves breaking right up against the dunes or a seawall. Majestic cliffs made of soft rock or clay can be undercut by the waves, leading to dramatic collapses called landslides. You might see trees that once stood firmly on solid ground, now leaning precariously over the water with their roots exposed. Over time, these changes can be profound. Entire bays can be widened, headlands can be worn down into stumps, and islands can disappear completely. It's a powerful reminder that the map of our world is not static. It is constantly being redrawn by the forces of nature, with the ocean holding the pen. There are several key mechanisms through which the ocean erodes the land. One is called hydraulic action. This is the sheer force of the water itself. When a powerful wave smashes against a cliff face, it can force air into cracks and fissures in the rock. As the wave recedes, the trapped air expands with explosive force, weakening the rock and breaking it apart from the inside out. Another mechanism is abrasion, which is the sandpaper effect I mentioned earlier. Waves hurl sand, pebbles, and boulders against the coastline, scouring and grinding it away like a tool. Then there's attrition, where the rock fragments and pebbles carried by the waves smash into each other, becoming smaller, smoother, and rounder over time. This is why beach pebbles are often so smooth. Finally, some types of rock can be eroded through solution or corrosion. This happens when the seawater itself, which is slightly acidic, dissolves certain types of rock, like chalk or limestone. It's a chemical process, much like how a fizzy drink can slowly dissolve a sugar cube. All these processes, hydraulic action, abrasion, attrition, and solution, work together, often at the same time, to relentlessly sculpt and reshape our coastlines. The specific type of erosion that dominates depends on the energy of the waves and the type of rock or sediment that makes up the coast. Understanding these fundamental forces is the key to figuring out why some coastlines erode much faster than others. The primary engine driving coastal erosion is the constant, powerful motion of the ocean itself. Wave action is the most visible and energetic force at play. Waves are created by wind blowing over the surface of the water. The stronger the wind and the longer the distance it blows, what scientists call the fetch, the bigger and more powerful the waves will be. When these waves reach the shallow water of the coast, they break, releasing a tremendous amount of energy. Storm waves, generated by hurricanes or intense low-pressure systems, are particularly destructive. They are higher, more powerful, and can attack parts of the coast that are normally untouched by the sea, dramatically accelerating erosion in just a few hours. The constant pounding of waves, day in and day out, is nature's primary tool for reshaping the land. Tides and currents also play a crucial role in this geological dance. Tides, which are the regular rise and fall of the sea level, caused by the gravitational pull of the moon and sun, determine the vertical zone where waves can do their work. During high tide, waves can reach higher up the beach or cliff face, eroding areas that are safe during low tide. Currents, which are like rivers flowing within the ocean, are responsible for transporting the sediment that waves have loosened. One of the most important types is the longshore current, which flows parallel to the coastline. This current acts like a conveyor belt, picking up sand from one part of the beach and carrying it down the coast, a process known as longshore drift. This is why sand often accumulates at one end of a beach while the other end erodes. The type of land a coast is made of is another huge factor. Think about it. It's much easier to wash away a sandcastle than it is to break apart a solid rock. The same principle applies to coastlines. Coasts made of soft materials like sand, silt, and clay, such as those found in deltas or on barrier islands, are far more vulnerable to erosion than coasts made of hard, crystalline rocks like granite. The geological structure of the land matters too. For instance, if layers of rock in a cliff are tilted downwards towards the sea, large blocks can more easily slide off once they are undercut by waves. The shape of the coastline itself, whether it's a straight line or a series of bays and headlands, also influences how wave energy is focused or spread out, leading to different rates of erosion along its length. Finally, one of the most significant natural drivers of coastal erosion today is sea level rise. For thousands of years, global sea levels have been relatively stable, but now they are rising at an accelerating rate, primarily because of climate change. As the planet warms, two things happen. Glaciers and ice sheets melt, adding more water to the oceans, and the seawater itself expands as it gets warmer. This is called thermal expansion. A higher sea level means that waves can reach further inland, attacking higher parts of cliffs and dunes. It also makes coastal areas more vulnerable to storm surges, which are temporary increases in sea level caused by storms. This combination means that the erosive power of the ocean is being brought to bear on parts of the coastline that were previously out of reach. While erosion is a natural process, human activities have dramatically interfered with the delicate balance of our coastlines, often making the problem much, much worse. One of the most significant things we do is build structures right along the shore. We love to have houses with ocean views, hotels right on the beach, and roads running parallel to the water. But when we build seawalls, jetties, and groins, structures designed to protect one specific area, we often create unintended consequences elsewhere. These hard structures can block the natural movement of sand along the coast. A groin, for example, might successfully trap sand to build up one beach, but it starves the beaches down current, causing them to erode even faster. We essentially solve the problem in one spot by shifting it to our neighbors down the coast. Another major human impact comes from our insatiable need for sand. Sand is a critical ingredient for making concrete, glass, and electronics, and we use it in massive quantities for construction and land reclamation projects. A lot of this sand is mined directly from beaches, or dredged from the seabed just offshore. When we remove sand from the coastal system, we are essentially stealing the raw material that nature uses to build and maintain beaches. This can lead to rapid erosion as the waves, deprived of their sediment buffer, begin to attack the land behind the beach. Similarly, the damming of rivers has a profound effect on our coastlines. Rivers have always been a primary source of sediment for many of the world's beaches, carrying sand and silt from the mountains down to the sea. When we build dams for hydroelectric power or irrigation, we trap that sediment behind the dam wall, cutting off the supply to the coast and starving the beaches. Removing coastal vegetation is another way we inadvertently accelerate erosion. Plants like mangroves, seagrasses, and the grasses that grow on sand dunes are nature's coastal engineers. Their roots act like a net, binding the sand and soil together and making it much more resistant to being washed away by waves and wind. The plants themselves also help to absorb wave energy, acting as a natural buffer that protects the land behind them. When we clear these plants to make way for development, agriculture, or aquaculture, like shrimp farms, we remove this vital natural protection. The exposed, bare soil is then easily eroded, leading to the rapid loss of land and the degradation of these important coastal habitats. Finally, the overarching human impact that affects every coastline on the planet is climate change, driven by our burning of fossil fuels. As we discussed, climate change is causing sea levels to rise, which is a direct driver of increased erosion. But it's also changing weather patterns, potentially leading to more frequent and more intense storms in some regions. These superstorms bring with them higher storm surges and more powerful waves, unleashing devastating erosive force on our coastlines in a very short period. In this way, our global actions are amplifying the natural forces of erosion, putting coastal communities and ecosystems around the world at ever-increasing risk. Our footprint on the planet is now so large that we are actively reshaping its very geography. The most direct and heartbreaking impact of coastal erosion is the loss of land and property. For people who live in coastal communities, this is not an abstract scientific concept. It is a real and present danger. Homes, businesses, and entire villages that have stood for generations can be threatened and ultimately destroyed as the land they are built on crumbles into the sea. Imagine watching your backyard get smaller every year, or seeing cracks appear in your foundation as the cliff edge gets closer. This loss of property is not just an economic blow, it's an emotional one, forcing people to abandon their homes and communities, a process known as managed retreat or coastal displacement. This creates climate refugees within their own countries, a growing problem worldwide. Beyond the loss of homes, erosion poses a significant threat to critical infrastructure. Roads, railways, airports, and ports are often located in low-lying coastal areas for practical reasons. As the coastline erodes, these vital transportation links can be damaged or destroyed, disrupting trade, travel, and daily life. power plants, water treatment facilities, and communication cables are also frequently at risk. The cost of repairing, relocating, or protecting this infrastructure is enormous, placing a heavy financial burden on governments and taxpayers. Furthermore, as the natural buffer of beaches and dunes disappears, coastal communities become much more vulnerable to flooding during storms. What might have been a minor storm surge can become a major disaster when there's no beach to absorb the wave energy. The environmental consequences are just as severe. Coastal habitats like beaches, dunes, wetlands, and mangrove forests are incredibly rich and diverse ecosystems. They provide critical nesting grounds for sea turtles and shorebirds, serve as nurseries for countless species of fish and shellfish, and support a complex web of life. When these habitats are eroded away, the animals and plants that depend on them lose their homes. This can lead to a significant decline in biodiversity and disrupt the entire marine food web. The loss of a coral reef or a mangrove forest, which act as natural breakwaters, not only destroys a beautiful ecosystem, but also removes a crucial layer of natural protection for the coastline, creating a vicious cycle of further erosion and habitat loss. The economic ripple effects of coastal erosion spread far and wide. The tourism industry, which is the lifeblood of many coastal economies, is particularly vulnerable. Who wants to vacation on a beach that has shrunk to a narrow strip of sand or disappeared entirely? The decline in tourism can lead to lost jobs and business closures. The fishing industry also suffers when the coastal nurseries for fish and shellfish are destroyed. Furthermore, the loss of valuable coastal real estate represents a massive economic loss. In many countries, the most expensive properties are located along the coast. As this land disappears, so does a significant amount of economic value, which can impact insurance markets, property taxes, and the overall financial stability of a region. It's a chain reaction that affects nearly every aspect of coastal life. Coastal erosion is a global problem, but it manifests differently and is tackled in various ways around the world. Let's take a trip to Sri Lanka, an island nation where a significant portion of the population and economic activity is concentrated along the coast. Here, illegal sand mining to feed the construction industry has severely starved the beaches of sediment, leading to rapid erosion that threatens homes, hotels, and vital railway lines. In response, the country has been working on projects like beach nourishment, where sand is dredged from offshore and pumped back onto the beaches to rebuild them. They are also focusing on restoring coastal vegetation, like mangroves, recognizing their value as a natural, self-repairing defense system against the waves. Now let's fly over to Europe and visit the Netherlands. Much of this country is below sea level, so managing the coast is a matter of national survival. For centuries, the Dutch have been world leaders in coastal engineering, building an extensive system of dikes, dams, and storm surge barriers. However, they have realized that relying solely on hard structures is expensive and unsustainable. A groundbreaking new approach they are using is called the sand motor. This involves depositing a massive amount of sand, over 21 million cubic meters, in a single strategic location. The natural action of wind, waves, and currents then gradually spreads this sand along the coast over many years, nourishing the beaches and dunes naturally. It's a prime example of working with nature, not against it. In the low-lying delta nation of Bangladesh, the challenges are immense. The country is densely populated and extremely vulnerable to sea level rise, powerful cyclones, and the erosion of its vast river delta system. Here, the impacts are felt most acutely by the poor, rural communities whose livelihoods depend on agriculture and fishing. The loss of land not only means the loss of homes, but also the loss of precious farmland to saltwater intrusion, making it impossible to grow crops. In response, communities are working with NGOs and the government on adaptive strategies. These include planting large forests of mangroves, which are incredibly effective at stabilizing land and absorbing wave energy, and building raised earthen platforms where entire villages can be relocated to stay above the floodwaters. Finally, let's look at the United States, which has a vast and varied coastline facing diverse challenges. On the Atlantic coast, barrier islands in places like North Carolina are constantly migrating, a natural process that clashes with the desire for permanent beachfront development. In Louisiana, the Mississippi River Delta is disappearing at an alarming rate due to a combination of land subsidence, sea level rise, and the levees that prevent the river from depositing new sediment. On the Pacific coast, cliffs in California are crumbling, threatening homes and major infrastructure like the Pacific Coast Highway. The responses are just as varied, ranging from massive beach nourishment projects in Florida to heated debates about managed retreat in California, where communities are grappling with the difficult decision to move away from the coast. When faced with an eroding coastline, humanity has developed a toolbox full of solutions, which can be broadly divided into two categories: hard engineering and soft engineering. Hard engineering involves building rigid, man-made structures to control the sea. The most common example is a seawall, a massive concrete or rock wall built parallel to the shore to absorb and reflect wave energy. While they can provide robust protection for the land directly behind them, they are very expensive and can cause problems. By reflecting wave energy, they often scour the sand at the base of the wall, causing the beach in front of them to disappear completely. Other hard structures include groins, which are rock or timber walls built perpendicular to the beach to trap sand from longshore drift, and breakwaters, which are offshore walls that break the force of waves before they reach the coast. In contrast, soft engineering approaches aim to work with natural processes to protect the coast. These solutions are often more sustainable, aesthetically pleasing, and environmentally friendly. The most popular soft engineering technique is beach nourishment, also called beach replenishment. This involves adding large quantities of sand, usually dredged from offshore, to a beach to widen it. This provides a larger buffer against storms and restores the recreational value of the beach. However, it's not a permanent solution. The new sand will eventually erode, and the process must be repeated every few years, which can be very costly. It's kind of like giving the coastline a temporary top-up of its natural defense material. Another powerful soft engineering strategy is dune restoration and stabilization. Sand dunes are nature's seawalls. They are a natural barrier that absorbs wave energy during storms. We can enhance this protection by planting dune grasses, like marram grass, whose extensive root systems bind the sand together and help to build up the height and width of the dunes. Fencing off areas to keep people from trampling the fragile vegetation is also a simple but effective part of this process. In tropical regions, the equivalent is planting and restoring mangrove forests along the shoreline. Mangroves are incredible coastal protectors. Their dense network of roots and trunks dissipates wave energy and traps sediment, helping to build up the land naturally while also providing a vital habitat for wildlife. Ultimately, the most effective approach is to combine these strategies within a broader framework known as Integrated Coastal Zone Management, or ICZM. This isn't just about building a wall or planting some grass. It's a holistic approach that considers the entire coastal zone as one interconnected system. It involves scientists, engineers, policymakers, and local communities working together to create a long-term plan. This plan might include a mix of hard and soft engineering, regulations on coastal development to prevent building in high-risk areas, and policies to address the root causes of erosion, like stopping illegal sand mining. It also acknowledges that in some cases, the most sensible solution might be managed retreat, planning for the relocation of communities away from the most vulnerable areas. By taking a comprehensive view, we can move from simply reacting to erosion to proactively managing our relationship with the coast for a sustainable and resilient future for both nature and people.